Thank you, Dr. Su, and welcome to this final session. And thank you for those who have survived till the end. Pagi-pagi, sekarang sudah tengah hari.
However, the spirit still pagi.
Okay.
Okay, I will call you selamat pagi. I expect you to respond. Pagi. Okay. Selamat pagi.
Pagi.
So that's Via.
All right. Now, it is important in a 2-day program like this, and especially with so many academics, senior people from projects from many parts of Asia, who have shared their stories and so forth, to now have some kind of a wrap to the session. Because sometimes at conferences, we have a nice time, we present our papers, and then we leave. But this panel is a bit different. The panel, is quite a large, I think the largest panel in the session, and it might be a difficult panel to control now. Because all are very senior people, and all have a wealth of knowledge to share with us. It is more on the theme of building inclusive communities, the future agenda for SDGs and SSE. So we have in the panel itself a diversity of people from their experiences and portfolios that they held before or currently holding that can serve as an advice to us. Now, some of them told me they're not going to answer the questions I'm going to ask them, but I'm sure all of us would follow. I'm suggesting, as some have told me, that it's a conversation together. It's not a paper presentation. So they each get 2 opportunities to speak. But at each time, it's only 5 minutes. And the timekeeper will flash cards, and if there is any delinquent behavior, then you will hear the bells. The bells might be nice in that afternoon, in case some of us are nodding away, including me, to wake up. Now, the questions are very simple. One is, what are some impressions and lessons at the end of these 2 days? Some of us were here more than 2 days. It can be from the papers, it can be through the exposure. What are some of your impressions, lessons? What came shocking, or what was surprising, or a memorable theme to this occasion? That's the first. Second, we are asking, is there any advice? All are senior people, any advice for all of us? Maybe list 3 points, or 2 points, or 1 point, but at least 3 points, not more than 3 because then it's going to take a lot of time. And then we will try and wrap up. We are not really opening to Q&A, but we will see within the time that is available to us, because we would sort of conclude, we are starting now to about 3:20 or so. They will sort of instruct me. I think we have had a great time together. Some of us gathered by Friday for the welcome dinner. We have had very senior, experienced people in our midst. We have articulated many different concepts, theories, ideas. We have seen what works and what doesn't work. And I think this might be the only conference really at recent times linking SDG to SSE and linking it together. So let me start off of people in the panel. Datuk Mustafa Muhammad needs no introduction. He was the minister. He was the strongest proponent of SDGs in the government when he was the Minister for the Economic Planning Unit, as well as he led a very, very effective team on poverty, which had some of the largest agencies attending a monthly meeting without fail, online or face-to-face. Topa now is in many different committees, and in one he is in the Society for the Promotion of SDGs, which is the secretariat, giving his voluntary time and service. Let's give him a hand. And to the first question, if you like to answer it.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, as Dr. Eri advises. Pagi, ya. This is not afternoon, it's pagi. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Dr. Dennison. I'm going to talk about the past and the future. Yeah, this is the title is the future BIC, the future agenda for SDGs and SSCs. I'm going to divide my presentation in two parts. The first part will be the past, and the second one, Dr. Dennison, would be the future. Yeah? I was the one who told him I'm not going to answer his question. But anyway, the past. I'm sure you must have heard this many times before, but I think it's worthwhile repeating. Firstly, in October 2019, the Speaker of the Malaysian House of Representatives, Dr. Arif, or Tan Sri Arif, approved the proposal to set up APPMG. That was the beginning, yeah? And now it's alive and kicking, very active. But to be successful, APPMG has been very successful. I'm now with them probably 2-3 hours a week, yeah? Online and offline. To be successful, you need to have good support from the government, and that came from Parliament, that came from Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning Unit. I was sitting then as Minister in charge of the EPU. So first, you need good support, yeah? And the support came from the Speaker, support came from Ministry of Finance, which is very critical, of course, in getting money, and Economic Planning, and I happen to be in charge of that. Number two, you need a leader, good leader, and you have a good leader, and Dr. Dennison has done a good work, yeah? Big hand to him, yeah? But leader is nobody without a good team. So a big hand to the team as well. So firstly, you have good support, you have a good leader and good team. So that's point number one. Point number two, when I was in charge of, from 2020, in my last stint in government, well, officially I left government in July 2022, but from March 2020, those 2 years, I was in charge of SDGs. And I was the one who suggested the government to set up the SDG Center. And now we have SDG Center in the ministry. So that's very important. The idea is to coordinate. There was not much coordination. People were doing all the little things, working in silos. So SDG is in place. And at the APPGM, I decided, I proposed to Dr. Dennison, we should set up a team of like-minded people. There was a passion of SDGs. So that led to the birth of the partners in accelerating SDGs. And our second meeting is going to be on the 5th of February. That brought together, we invited about 12, 13 institutions, 8 turned up. Yeah, Dr. Rohani was there, Puan Munira was there, the head of APPMG, and many of you were there, our MPs here. Yeah? But anyway, this platform is to bring people together. And I could see a lot of synergy. People were excited, they were working together for one purpose, which is promoting or accelerating SDGs. As you heard from Karima, I was in Kota Kinabalu. There was a SDG summit on Thursday. Karima spoke there. Of course, she's been saying this. We are lagging behind in terms of achievements. So with this partnership, yeah, and we're meeting on the 5th of February. I told Dennison, you have to meet at least once every 2 months. So this is, when I was in EPU, I started what I call the Poverty Circle. We met once a month without fail. I had 13 meetings altogether, so over 13 months. And that brought people who are interested in poverty. And to this day, I remain committed and passionate about poverty. I still have 2 or 3 projects on the ground, mainly Orang Asli, which I personally supervise, although I'm out of government. So this is out of national service, and also I'm passionate about SDGs. So that's history. I've been told I've got 1 minute to go. and the second part is about the future. So in summary, we have this bipartisan wonderful group. Dato' Rohani, we've been together for many years. Our friendship, started about 20 years ago, not 2 years, 2 decades ago. And in Parliament, we used to be sparring partners. There was one incident which you shared with me. One MP stood up expressing a disappointment that his application wasn't approved. So I stood up. I said, "You better ask Rohani." And then within a few minutes, that question was resolved. So we had this partnership in Parliament, support of Parliament. And when MPs are, we have MPs here. Saya, Susan, and Datin, Rose, and Wabi Modi. When MPs are directly involved, they bring the voice of SDGs to Parliament, which never happened before. Before I came in 2020, SDGs were all over the place. But now in Malaysia, we are moving in one direction. It's bipartisan, getting the full support of the government of Malaysia and also both the speakers in the Senate and the lower house. So that's it from me. That's about the past, and I'll talk about the future in the next few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. While Topa said he didn't answer the question, academic style, I can analyze and say, well, he shared his impressions and lessons on this whole structure on how we moved on. I'll tell you a little secret. When Topa was answering that question, and the question was posed to YB Rohani, from Parliament she texted me and said, "Denison, there is this question and this MP." So we immediately got into action, contacted the MP and said, "Can I come and see you?" And he said, "Okay." And we settled the whole discussion over chapati. We found out the MP loved chapati eating, and we took him to a Punjabi shop in Brickfields. And we sat down and spoke, and then I contacted YB Rohani. It's settled. No raswa. It was a question that that he wanted to know why his project was rejected. It wasn't rejected. There was a query, and that wasn't conveyed to him. So miscommunication and so forth. But part of it is because of different political parties, MPs could conclude differently. But what we are saying, as what Topa highlighted, that it is important for people to come together for conversation, and that is quite key. YB, please come forward. Yeah, and that would be important. Let me pass the mic to Dato' Rohani, who was our former chairman, former minister, but now chairman of the Malaysian
Family
Population
and Family Development Board, which is very much SDG related, because it's to do with population. If there's, all the development coming about, if there's not enough people, it will be a problem. Now, I'd just like to share with you, because I've been with all of you for the past 2 days. Now, honestly speaking, Dato', when the subject of SSE, certainly I was saying, am I in the correct forum? Because I was just a lot of time we were talking about SDG, and then suddenly, and then that's why I became more interested. I must sit in as much of the discussion as possible, and the more I got in, then basically it's about the same. Exactly. It's about the same, but SSE was more on, it zoomed directly into economy, income generating, for the inclusive societies. But SDG, as you know, we have 17 matters to go through, which encompasses all that. Now, if you were to ask me, there's an increased awareness on my part. Even though we are together in APPGM, SDG, but the more, so I really believe in this kind of international forum. Okay, national forum is good because it's whatever is in the country, right? And basically all of us will know about it. But when you get to meet with all your international friends, you see how they tackle things same matter, but how you tackle depends on culture, depends on certain taboos, right, that you cannot go through. So it's very good. So there's a lot of learning for these past 2 days, and I'm very grateful. Now talking about the question from my friend from India, right? How do you get politicians together? Yeah, at first I was thinking as well, can I manage to talk to the opposition, because there were opposition and there were not many government MPs that time in SDG. And then I had at first, when I came in as chairman, I had a hard time getting the MPs to buy in what APPGM SDG wanted to do, until we bring in a few examples. And then after I showed a few examples and a lot of success stories, and then there was scrapping of MPs coming on board, until Datuk Danison, we said we burst our budget, because we have budget, because the government gave us through Tok Pa, the government gave us budget, and for every project that we undertake, we gave certain amount of money. And at first, it was a very lukewarm kind of acceptance from the MPs, be it opposition or the government. But after we showcased to them a few success stories, actually, we are helping the Member of Parliament to help their people through our SDG programs. So after that, I think every year onwards, Datuk Danison, I think your budget, he has to say it's only 40 constituency, it's only 35 constituency, no more. So there was grappling, who wants to get first. But it was a very good, it was, when I first came into APPGM SDG, is a lot of eye-opening for me as well. Because, as Member of Parliament, you just know your constituency, right? You know your constituency very well, but you don't know about the other constituency. But when I came into APPGM SDG, it's like I'm learning a lot about other people's constituency and helping one another. Tok Pa, we even help. Because I don't see them as people from different parties, but we are together. We want to help our people. I think that's the basically. So for these 2 days, increase awareness on my part, some policy directions, some, in fact, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? Because you have it. Why not you incorporate? So these are things that, as I said, and maybe collaborative opportunities between countries, especially we in ASEAN, we're doing that, but maybe more than that. So that's why I met a friend there. She said, I saw you in UN the other day. And that was also the sharing, right? We shared a lot of ideas how each country's perspective can be adopted. If it helps in other countries, why not? So that's my take. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have had views from two parliamentarians, former parliamentarians, and both who were cabinet ministers in the previous governments, and they still are active, very active in SDGs, and I think that's key. Ben needs no introduction. He was the discussant. We put him now not as the last commentator, but now in between, I think, Ben. Over to you, Ben. Your views, impressions, and lessons first.
Thank you, Dato. Actually, the first thing there are only 3 things that I'd like to share with you. The first thing is that the reason why SDGs resonate with you is because it is a concoction of the UN to recognize that people's inputs in development is beyond more than GNP. That's why you have 17 SDGs. Now, when you connect SDGs to what people are doing, you say that, why? These things that we are describing, this has been done by the people long ago. It's not new anymore. But when you put SSE as a framework and then relate to the SDGs, you say, aha, so this is it, But there are no statistics on what people are doing on all these 17 SDGs. What does this relationship with SSA to SDG has done to us? there is now a framework you can use to measure the contribution of people to SDGs. Now, I work in our National Economic Development Authority in the Philippines, and I was assigned long time ago, in the 1980s, to estimate the GNP of the Philippines. That's why I know how to measure an economy, yeah, macroeconomy. Now, this brings me to the second innovation of what we are doing here. The first, of course, to summarize the first one, there is now increased level of awareness because of this association between SSE, which defines what people are doing and contributing to SDGs. That's the first thing that I noticed. The second is innovation. Previously, we were only looking at micro. Now we have two innovations at the macro level. The first is APPGM. They have, this institution bringing together people from the public policy, yeah, involved, in this campaign. The second innovation is from the Philippines. My colleague, Mr. Reyes, Quezon City Local Government, declaring that their city is the first SSE city in the Philippines. What does this imply? Now, I was talking to our colleague, Mr. Reyes, let us measure the SSE economy in Quezon City. We can do that. Once we measure this, you have statistics. Statistics are very important in order that you can reveal, you can show the contribution of people to SDGs. The third observation about what we have done here. The case studies have shown concrete proposal, concrete actions, in the field. We don't have to argue about it because it is there, But these are not, innovation, this practice, do not appear in the statistics of our governments. That's why it cannot be counted. That's why the report is that you're only achieving 15%. Imagine if, for example, you are going to, document all of these cases and you can measure them. Maybe the level of achievement of developing countries to SDGs will rise up to 85-90%. Do you agree?
I agree.
Yes, because the actions of people are not put into statistics. Without statistics, you cannot be recognized. Yeah? So that's the third point that I'd like to make. And I would like to say that I have talked to my good friend, Dato Denison, 800 projects. There must be already sustainable, matured projects there. Let's look at them, how we can replicate this all over Malaysia, rather than going to its community and then, deal with startups. Yeah? Why don't we copy the franchising approach of big companies? Yeah? Let these models working be owned by the people. So that is easier, rather than nurturing startups. Yeah? So this is my take, Dato, that, I see that a lot, of innovations here. In fact, I will go to PSPK. Is that the one that we're going to visit tomorrow?
Yes. Slide.
And I will see whether, it is possible to replicate this all over Malaysia. It's a good, innovation of this NGO that we have seen this morning. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Ben. Ben brought into our conversation the term innovation. So the experiences, the thoughts, innovation in ideas, innovation in practices, and innovation for replication. I think this is key for us to note that in our small corner in some part of the world that we might think what we are doing is insignificant, it's actually making an impact in the lives of people. But we now need to document it. We need to create the statistical analysis to it and add value to that. I think we have a big agenda forward again. Okay, now to Dr. Eri from Selamat Pagi, Indonesia.
Pagi.
Over to you.
Bring this forward to your country, always pagi, morning. So, back to your questions, what are the impressions with these 41 papers? At the first as well with this event, I feel that we are not alone. The ASEC is big. That means, so I'm meeting a friends with the same passion and with the same goal on make a world more equally. And then, but in the other side, if I listen to the all presentations with the all good mission to the community, then I have our challenge is so big. At the first, if we see that the SDGs are currently only 15% the countries on track, the challenge is so big. How can we have accelerate this into more percentage, while the democracy in the countries is different. Not all the countries like the Malaysia. We have to grateful that APPMG has the link between three important institutions: CSO, government, and the parliament. Not in all countries have such like this. And the challenge to cope with all these challenges mostly is lie on the country's policy. So this is, I think, then how can we replicate the spirit of these collaborations, government, civil society, and in parliament as well to other countries. So then we have a space, the civil society, to talk with the government and the policy. Because in many countries, the democratic of civil society is shrink, particularly as well in ASEAN country. So, and then what other else, my memorable things is this morning, ma'am. This morning, there is the issue is about the vulnerable communities. There are three ladies, they shared about the communities. So I would like, this is about the scavengers from Dr. Selvi from India, and then from the Philippines with the study of Baja wafers, one of community that's impacted by the war as well. And then the third is the movement or the program to help the refugees in the Malaysia. So it's really touchy. I can feel that this room is already too cool, and it was in the morning was freeze. Everyone is silent. So it's more cool than for me then. So but what make me another that thing, Datuk Denison, we cannot say that is only the problem. We see that a lot of good people would like to help the vulnerable groups, but we have to bring this into the government, into the policy. So I think this is the role of the promoters of the SSE, the promoters of the SDGs, to bring this case closer to the decision makers. We have social media and so on. I think this is the challenge. Then I realized this morning, opened my eyes, what does it mean with this no one left behind? If you listen the story, this is really heartbreaker. So this is, I think, my short impressions of this morning or these 2 days discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Eri. I'm reminded of 2019 when we met in Yogyakarta. And I remember Dr. Eri brought a Ketua Kampung, or the village leader. I forgot his name,
Wahyudi.
Pak Wahyu.
Yeah.
He wrote a book, Jangan Tinggalkan Kampung. Don't leave the kampung behind. So we are all talking about don't leave, individual behind. But he wrote a book on Jangan Tinggalkan the kampung, and how the village, and what then Pak Wahyu did through his community was to create enterprises in the village so that people don't need to leave the village but could have secure jobs and opportunities. So that's the one. Now let's move on to Sandra. We thought it's important to hear Sandra, in some sort of outsider, but having known Sandra now in the last 2-3 days, she doesn't seem to be an outsider. She's very much an insider to Asia or Africa or because of her origin from Latin American background. Sandra, we are thankful that you took the long flight. You represent REPAS, which is the Intercontinental Organization, and she has been taking notes, taking photographs, sending news to here and there, because I'm getting messages back from friends in REPAS back to us. I think Ben got an email from Yvonne as well. So Sandra, thank you, and over to you for your impressions so far and lessons that you want to highlight.
Thank you, Denison. Thank you very much. I first to give my impressions, I want to give you thanks for your welcome, for being so warm. I feel really like at home in Asia. I feel at home in Malaysia. I feel at home in Kuala Lumpur because I come from Bogota, which is a really big and chaotic city. And it really feels the South, and the South is our home. So thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot. So I will probably take where you have just finished. Can I see some photographs, please?
Sure.
Because I will take it from there. You say, no, the photos. Oh. Yes, nice. This is some censored archives from REPAS. And I will start there because you say it, Denison. So this looks like, yeah, probably the next one, but this looks like Ben. And this is 2004. And this is in the Social Forum in Brazil. And 20 years ago, we all were gathering around what was like the anti-globalization. And we were like really starting to get to know and to acknowledge what was happening at the world level. What were these financial machines that were impoverishing our countries? And how does the mechanisms, how those big mechanisms were affecting us in the global South? So this is the next one. This is as well Ben in 2007, and this was like in the welcome of the first Asia. This is when Ben decided to get into REPAS, according to Yvonne. The next one that is really the censored one. So this is the beginning. This is the beginning. It really reflects. But this is how they were really so tired. I think that the Denison and Ben were. I'm not representing REPAS. Here, they are the one that represents REPAS, and this is the beginning of REPAS. I think this is in the south of France, and they are going to the 4th intercontinental meeting in Luxembourg. So they are the ones that in Asia has led it to now ERI, that is leading ASEC. ASEC is the continental member of REPAS. We have continental members in Africa, in Latin America, in North America, in Europe, and even in Oceania, in the Pacific. So my impressions are really, I'm going to be very quick in this, that you have made an amazing work. Probably at a global level, Asia is the most advanced continent, leading SDGs and SSE. I can understand, well, no, I'm not going to show this now. I can understand that probably not a lot of people were very close or very, knew more about SSE. I reckon that I have heard that not all the people were engaged in this, but now I think that after this conference, we have a more clear vision about SSE. I was deeply touched between all the positions that we have, the papers, with HomeNet. And with what HomeNet is doing, we have heard in Philippines, in Pakistan, and in Thailand. So when you're talking before, Ben, about the statistics, I do agree. But this sharing that we're doing here has to go really to a practice level. And for example, we cannot put into statistics what HomeNet are doing in Thailand because they could not be as a cooperative. they had to register as a company, as a limited company. So they are not a unit of the CCC. They are a unit of the private sector. So please, we have to really fill in these lakes of what has to be still shaped in the policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, when Ben and I are not in that pose, we do get some work done. Thank you, Sandra, for that overview and appreciation. I think it puts us that lot of innovations, lot of work taking place. But I think the institutionalization of these initiatives, like for ASEC as well, to sort of consolidate it at this point becomes quite critical. At tomorrow's meeting, when ASEC meets, that would be important. I think when the Secretariat of the APPGM meets to review this, I think that will be key. And our first meeting would have to follow up some of the key areas in this context. Prof. Habibul, you are last on this panel, but not last on the thoughts, but be free to share your impressions and reflections from an academic and from your own discipline and experience. Over to you.
Thank you, my friend Dr. Dennison. Actually, the reflections and impression reflected here. This is such a quite vibrant platform that you've been creating over the year. Like honorable ex-ministers are here, social leaders are here, academics are here, practitioners are here, volunteers are here, social solidarity, economics, like founders are here so far, I think, and researchers across the world coming here, making together. But just one thing, before going to my impressions, I just wonder to see the photos of Dr. Dennison and Ben, that the good impression of right now here of myself and some of my friends, those who are sleeping here or outside of the room, their reflection will be, funny after a few years when we'll meet together again, right? Dear ladies and gentlemen, my friends, it is tremendously a very, very inclusive, vibrant, holistic platform that is an unique model towards achieving SDGs, not only in Malaysia, of course I should say in all the South and Asian countries, like APPGM. I just got amazed to see the logo and the name and the participation methods, where parties, leaders, those who are in power and in opposition, and the rural and urban stakeholders from all spheres of life and professions, religions, ages, right? They're coming together. And hands up to you, honorable leaders here, that you have been creating. Actually, inclusivity reminds every single body's heart and mind. I found all the teammates are very inclusive in their mindset. They're receiving all the delegates and participants, having a very wide heart. It's very widened, horizontally, inclusive, and true leadership remains here. And we know, and personally, it's my reflection from my side that a good start with an inclusive, holistic mind move towards a better end. And I firmly believe the methods and models allowing prioritizing SSE, that I was talking to Dr. Ben yesterday and Dr. Ari. Actually, it is my personal experience. I was not much used to and known to this model before as an academician. As I came from Bangladesh, in our country, the first barrier is to bring the academicians to the practice. They are just doing as such academic research, but academic research finding cannot be impactful. Rather, it's not being pragmatic research to the community. So that is being happening here in Malaysia. It's truly amazing. It's my 2 cents, and I'm happy to be here. It's my privilege and honor to let me be facilitated and share a few impressive words for you. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have gone through the first round, and I think it's impressive. I got 6 key words. I don't know how many words came to your mind. I'm still wide awake. One, we started with Topa's whole method of bringing people together, conversations. Conversations are important. Second, we had this idea of being togetherness. Togetherness, parliamentarians, government, opposition, academician, and so forth. Third, we got the idea of innovation. People are innovating things on the ground, and that's key, and we need to capture it. Then we had the idea you need to replicate it. Replication is quite key. Practice is important. Theories, ideas, but practice. And finally, we came to this idea of inclusion and being vibrant. Vibrancy is quite key to take on and to accelerate so that SDGs by 2030, some people say by 2040, but really seeing the changes in the community. Okay, the next round. Anyone sleeping so far? Please take the photos and upload it afterwards. I didn't know that photo was taken. I mean, 20 years ago.
20. Exactly 20.
I think this was where? The Luxembourg conference. On the way. Oh, France to Luxembourg. Okay. The car. Fortunately, he was not sleeping while driving. Okay. All right. We go to the next round. It's more the future. What do people on the stage with experience feel we need to put as priorities? 1, 2, 3 things. And let me start with Topa.
Thank you, Dr. Dennison. Firstly, this has been a very productive encounter for me, outing. An hour and a half yesterday, another hour and a half this afternoon. I've learned a lot, so thank you for that. Secondly, I've decided in my remaining years, as a person, to devote my time to SDG work. So decided to park myself at UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network at Sunway University. This is headed by Jeffrey Sachs. He was here last week on Monday. So a bit about what I'm doing. My key takeaways for the future are as follows. Firstly, there's got to be focus, yeah? And of course, education is a cross-cutting issue. This is key. And in my current work, I'm doing a bit of work on poverty and education. I started another conversation on the circular economy. It started about in November. Tomorrow is our third conversation on the circular economy. So this is about sustainable production and consumption, which is also part of SDG. So one is focus. Number 2, I think there's got to be closer collaboration between the stakeholders. We have government or official institutions, that will be the international organizations, UN, UNDP, of course, national governments and policymakers on one hand. On the other, you have the private sector. On the other, you have CSOs. So in my view, the future is about collaboration. And that's, SDG 17, which is about partnership, which is sorely lacking in many parts of the world. And in Malaysia and many other parts of the world, I hope we can work together to promote closer collaboration between the various stakeholders. This is not rocket science, but on the ground, there are some real challenges. Number 3, I think there's got to be sharing of best practices. This is what you have done. A wonderful, it's been a productive, constructive 2 days here. You brought experts from throughout the world, 15 countries, but you present all the continents, including Latin America and South America. So sharing international best practices. I know that Dr. Dennison, you've been talking to some people. I've also been talking to some others in government. Next year, Malaysia chairs ASEAN. Last year was Indonesia. This year is Laos. Next year is ASEAN. So we are going to get government to agree to have a high-powered big meeting with SDGs, bringing leaders and CSOs, academics, and ASEAN together. Like what here is a microcosm of what I think what we plan to do next year. Malaysia chairing ASEAN next year. So one of the key deliverables, sharing of international best practices. Number 4 is about localizing. APPIMG has done a lot of work, going to the ground, telling men on the street, refugees and kampung folk, village folks and others, urban poor. So there's a lot more work that needs to be done, localizing SDGs. You've done a lot of work, but a lot more has got to be done. Finally, many of these things have got to be embedded in the mindsets of citizens, and education is key. There's initiative 4.7. I'm indirectly involved in this at Sunway. They're going to the ground to get government to agree to embed SDGs in the school curriculum. Yeah, of course, it is happening in many ways, but there's a lot more that needs to be done to change the mindsets of citizens, starting from young, from 4 or 5 years old, so that it's embedded in the daily behavior. If that's done, then we're all in business. We can fly the kite and achieve all the goals. As you know, 2030 is our target, and we have a long way to go. And one way to accelerate the achievement of SDGs is to get our young people to understand and support and of course walk the talk. Yeah? Whatever they learn, hopefully will be translated into actions on the ground. Thank you. So those are 4 or 5. You wanted 3, I have 5. There's a bonus for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Words of wisdom, key pointers. I'm sure our Secretariat rapporteurs will be capturing all these points, but I think a key pointer to 2025, when Malaysia is the chair of ASEAN, and how can we bring that into the agenda of the 10 main countries. But we also have a term called ASEAN Plus, which will not forget South Asia, East Asia, and so forth. Dato' Rohani, your words of wisdom.
Thank you, Dato'. The first wise men have spoken 5 points. This is adding on. My observation is, since I came into APPG MSDG, was awareness building. You know, at first, even the terms, they don't understand. If you tell them what is SDG, they don't understand. But suddenly when you go to the village, when you say, what do you do when there's flood? Then they know. They rattle and they'll tell you a lot of things they want to be done and what they want the government to be done. So meaning to say, is the word, you know. I mean, if you just say SDG, they wouldn't know. It sounds so high level. So to me, we have to build up this understanding, as Tok Pa mentioned. I'm so happy to hear you're bringing into the school system 4.7, and this one is even to grassroots. To a kampung, to a rumah, you know, on all this. Bring them on board. Because if you can bring them on board, and then I think actually more ideas can be generated from themselves. You know, because this is, you are really SDG, SSE, you are empowering the people. You know, so you get them on board, and once it is their idea, and then you help their ideas to be realized, and then I think success is much greater. So I believe in increasing of awareness, and also what SDG, I think is under My Academy or what is doing, is capacity building. Now when we first came in, even our civil servant, Tok Pa, they're not very familiar. They're not very familiar. When you ask them about what's your program for sustainable development goals, they're not very familiar. But if you say the term in the local, you know, poverty, what do you do for poverty, and then they understand better. You know, if you tell them what is the 17 SDG goals, they don't know. They won't know. So this is capacity building. And another one, I've been raising this since yesterday. How is it that we can bring the private sector together? Because it's the private sector, I think, is absent in our, if we go through what we're doing, and the private sector is waiting outside there for us to invite them to come in. For example, the telcos. You know, you're talking about connectivity, internet connectivity, lines, that kind of thing. Maybe we bring the private sector because it's for them. It becomes a win-win. It's for them and it's for us, you know, connectivity. So more private sector engagement. And then maybe the government can talk about it. Can talk about, because I have the MPs here. You can bring in your debates. You in the upper house. There are 3 here in the upper house. There's in the lower house. You said bring the private sector together in this goal of ours. But of course, there's always a carrot and stick. You know, when private sector comes in, you start talking about maybe some incentive, you know, maybe some exemption from income tax, or maybe some CSR award, you know, for being the best philanthropist, the best that one in SDG. You know, these are things that you can think about in the way forward. So this is my take for the way forward, and the rest of it is, you know, what we have been talking, bring more engagement, have more collaborative partnerships, because as I said, you don't have to reinvent, because it's already there. It's just sharing of these ideas, and if we can work in other countries, why not? And if from your country we can bring it here, why not? You know, it's that kind of thing. So this, to me, please carry on this great sharing of ideas between all the partners. And to me, these are all the partners in development. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dato. I think your point on private sector is quite important. I think in many of our discussions, we think about it, but we don't bring them. We have a lot of micro business operators, but I think the big players need to also be engaging, and there are large numbers now involved because of the Security Commission's compliance to public listing and so forth, sustainability reports and so forth. So I think we can play a role there, and possibly, as Topa highlighted, that for the 2025, we need to have a much larger number of people, but a better balance of the multi-stakeholder engagement. Ben, over to you. What's the future? I mean, I know we both might doze off at some point, but more than that.
First of all, in terms of the 2025 conference, I was thinking we should invite the mayor of Quezon City and a legislator, assemblyman, congressman from Philippine Congress to participate so that they can see what's happening here. That's number one. Number two, I think our colleagues, you know, from different countries can replicate this. Yeah? Maybe APPGM, MySDG, and ASEC can, you know, come up with a platform. Maybe we have Zoom from Nepal. You can arrange, you know, and then we can transmit, you know, what's happening here. In different countries, we can do that. This is the second point I'd like to make, so that, you know, the learning that we got here can be transferred to them, especially to those who did not participate. Number three, I think we have to level up in terms of our case studies. No? It's good that we are telling the stories, yeah? But I think it's also important to have impact investments. Yeah? I mean, impact assessments. Yeah? So impact assessment is done by a third party. Storytelling is done by the first person, you know, first party. So this is my suggesting that ASEC and APPGM can conduct an impact assessment, you know, of some of the projects on the ground, yeah, so that there is an objective assessment of what's happening there. And then, third and last, I think the last session we have on financing, you know, my take is that we need to seriously consider setting up an SSE financial platform, yeah, because all around, I discussed with many of the participants, the one constraint that they need to overcome is access to finance, yeah. And this is not you know, a rocket science, because we're dealing with micro, small, medium enterprise. Capital is very small. When your capital is very small, you cannot talk to a bank. Because the bank, you know, you say, I have only 10,000, you cannot borrow 1 million, yeah? Because your carrying capacity is very small, yeah? So this is why I thought that the third component that we need to look at in the next conference is the financial platform, yeah? How are we going to tackle this? So we have already seen, you know, this afternoon's, morning session, it can be done, yeah? So with that, Dato, thank you very much for making this happen, and I thank you for moderating, enabling us to reflect on what has happened here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ben. I think impact assessment is quite key. And in the APPG example, Professor Rashila was here. We have actually engaged over 30 academicians to undertake the evaluation. And in your program book, that report is available. But I think it's now to try and standardize so that all countries try to apply certain guidelines and principles for social impact assessment. And I think Ben's point on financial access to financial inclusion, I think something that Rajan Samuel has been talking about, and the Crowder Foundation could help facilitate, and we can take this up for the 2025 to look at, these are terms, Rajan is brainwashing me, with investment for equity, not just grants. We are all grant driven. That means all my life, I get a grant, 1 million, 100,000. I must spend it in the best way, frugal, effective, audited, no site going anywhere, so that the audit is clear. But I've never been given a task. I give you 1 million. Can you create 2 million? From the 1 million, can you create 10 million? That's an issue my son is struggling with, because I gave him seed capital and I said, you must return back and fine. So I think for us as movements, we need to move that. And I think that's something we can take up seriously for the next conference and look at organizations that are creating wealth. Don't ever think, which Professor Yunus has taught us, don't ever think the poor don't have money to pay for the services.
Yeah.
They have the money, and they are paying for it. That's why loan sharks are active in their midst. They're paying above commercial rates and getting exploited. Okay, Dr. Eri, your advice to what do we do next?
Okay, at the first, I would like to thanks for all the participants, because all of you has give the ESSEC inputs for tomorrow ESSEC assembly. So that means you are the resources for our roadmap, and then for the future. But that is 3 things, I hope. But according to the Mahabharata 5 points, not the 3 points, the best thing. So Mahabharata told it is on 5 big values. Okay, at the first, I would like to encourage that the grassroots practitioners, promoters, to be more self-confidence, that you are bringing a good value in the world and make a vibrating what you have done to the world. Because I know that we are from mostly voluntarily from grant demand and so on, but we are good. Without us, might be they don't know how to put the value, how to understand, how to translate the value into the governance. And the second, I would like to suggest, this is from SSA point of view, that we have to strengthen the SSA practitioners. Don't work alone from the country, each country. We have to bind together into one network, so for advocacy, because our challenge is so big. Our challenge is so big, and now the challenge, the outside there is working with their own capital, and we are working more on the social capital. Therefore, the networking is part of our resources. And the third, I agree with the database, but this is for SDGs. However, the SSE practitioners should have as well database. If you want to have a success advocacy, you have based on the data. This is as well the weakness of the SSE practitioners. We are working alone. We are voluntarily focused on the grassroots, but we are not strategically have a data for promoting our work and then advocating for the government and policy. And then last but not least, this is the capacity building as well for the SSE organizations. I have seen a lot of good work has been done, but might be like networking capacity, advocacy capacity, we have to be built. So we have skilled not only on facilitating our target groups, but as well skilled to negotiate, to facilitate or to talk with the government, private sector, and the politicians. Last but not least, this is the fifth point because I follow the Mahabharata principle. So after this conference, don't forget, maintain the networks. I'm sure you have saved some the new contacts in your WhatsApp. You have the new friends. You have to maintain this because this is part of the social capital, that the strength of our networks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Eri. I think this is where strengthening partnerships might be important. We are trying to do that in Malaysia, but then we now have a broader base of about 13 to 15 countries that are here, and many are large organizations. And if ASEC, as a regional body, plays that kind of interlinkages between SDG, SSE, and also with the countries, then we can see how capacity building in terms of the training materials that are available, and with the online platforms that Rajan spoke of, online training opportunities that ASEC, SSE Academy has, and MySDG Academy here, where we can talk to Zoel and see how we can have a broader base to follow this up. And a lot of you are resource persons that can be engaged online. So the conversation doesn't need to end here in PJ, but it can be ongoing and to learn beyond that. Okay, Sandra, over to you.
Okay, thank you. I will also follow the 5 principles. 5, because it says 5. Okay. Can I have, because I have been working on a document that I will of course not present now, but I would really want you to know that I was working on the document. So can I have the document, please? Yeah. So for me, probably the first principle is the recognition. The recognition. SSC, solidarity, social solidarity economy, is not recognized under the SDGs. Although we have been working a lot for that, but it's still not there. Even the word cooperatives is just like in one paragraph. So we need more recognition, because what we are doing in the ground level, what we're doing in the territories, is very important, and this is not recognized. This is still not recognized in the normative frames, in the policies. We need to be recognized. It's the only way to keep on doing what we are doing. This is the first thing. So probably we have to work for the post-growth after 2030 new policies. We have to be there. Nobody's going to talk for us. First issue. The second one is exchanges. I know that there are a lot of like NGO-based and institutions and a lot of like, of course, organizations that want to help on SSC, that want to help on SDGs, and it's very good, but I would really advise to have more exchanges between the experiences, because the people that are doing the things at the ground level is the people that knows. There is a knowledge on the basis that is not acknowledged. and what we call in Spanish, campesino to campesino, peasant to peasant formation has a value that not any technical or like expert can bring it to you. So I advise more exchanges, because it's in the good practices, but mostly in the bad examples that we all have, that we learn from each other. And this could be made, of course, at national level, of course, at regional levels, but no, do not tell me wrap up. And mainly, as you said at the beginning, at intercontinental level. The third thing that I have is, I'm not going to show this, of course, but we are working a lot in the task force, in the United Nations task force on the promotion of solidarity and social economy. And there's a resolution that has been adopted by all the nations last year. Indonesia was co-sponsoring, Mongolia as well was co-sponsoring, and Japan, these resolutions. At the end, it was adopted by everybody. Malaysia was, the woman from ILO said, has a really role in the writing of this resolution. This is something that is going on. We have to take it and to work in it, in the implementation. In these 4 paragraphs that this resolution has, there's the third paragraph, that talks about the financial means. How are we going to finance SSE entities and SSE work around the world? RIPES is in the action plan and is already mentioned as to be working on this special item. So I want you to know this, and it's something in which we can really work together between the continents. And I want to show you this at the end. Look, here. This is a little bit where we are, kind of outcomes, at the advocacy level. That was the 4th element. And for example, in Africa, RAES, that is the African network of RIPES for yes, I'm writing it. It has been recognized in the 10th Year African Union Plan as the only SSC network. ASEC, but I think we have to move to get there, no? To be recognized at the ASEAN level in the economic issues. So the 5th one, and then I'll wrap, is that there are some issues that are going on already. Food sovereignty. Food sovereignty is a right, and is inside the UNDROP, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Peasants. If we take these elements, if we know these elements, we can really move forward, because there are some agreements and some normatives that have already been accepted by the nations. And we have to get to know it and to work on it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. I think Sandra's presence and input is linking us not to become too insular. That means you are very localized, you are very Malaysia, the whole world is Malaysia, the whole world is our kampong or our village. But then we moved on with ASEC to have a broader view of Asia and so forth. But with RIPES, it is intercontinental. And it brings in the different continents and the dimensions, and it broadens our perspective to fantastic models in Latin America or Europe or in Africa, to then see the actors and the players at that stage. I think Sandra also introduced to us the UN Task Force. Some of us have attended meetings of the UN Task Force, which ILO has given the leadership. There is an encyclopedia on SSE that was prepared some time ago and published. So this broadens our case studies and our examples into the global arena. And I think I want to thank Sandra for that. Prof, your final words, not parting words, but final words.
But Prof, it's not fair, because time is 3 minutes for everybody, right? We are not, running for marathon. We are running just one-day match. Everybody is coming and doing batting, right? Comes one after another. So all questions and answer already answered, right? But let me do just one thing. Yes, let me do one thing. I was just calculating the total tenure from 2016 to 2030 to achieve SDG, how much time will we get to achieve SDG? That is 7.3 million 58,400 minutes. But you are requesting us, allowing us just 3 minutes to achieve. Beautiful points, right? 3 points. So my first thing is,
I got this red cards being flagged.
already Darshani shows wrap up. My session is wrapped up. You're done. It's done, right, bro?
I got a red card.
I was wondered, Darshani shows wrap up. My session is done, right? Just fun. So, the time that now I'm talking, it's very difficult time. After lunch, 3:15, it's time for sleeping, resting, rousing, and so many faces, very beautiful faces, close to sleep or close to rest. But as we are discussing the final points, pivotal points to achieve SDGs, key points, my first point is, recommended point is, allot quality time in all actions. Time should be quality time, no wastage of time in all actions, every sphere of achieving SDGs of 169 targets. That is my first point. And revitalizing human energy. Because we always recycle the energy, but not human energy. It's very, very important. We become tired sometimes. We become monotonous. We become heartless. We become hopeless. We become motionless. We should be motionful always in all actions. That is my second, and this full page for the third. I'm just reading, already all points covered up, but the point that touched my heart last 2 days in all the 40 sessions, that might be repeated, but that is very, very important to me. Recognizing local, informal, entrepreneurial economy. As a social worker, I was in dark side so far till yesterday, because I thought, for whom we are targeting achieving SDG, the untouched, the disadvantaged, most vulnerable, most local, right? To achieve SDGs, through localizing SDG, we have to list down. The sub-point is listing down by the states, by the community, and then enumerate the community ideas holistically to the state. Promote network and maintain network, that Sandra actually advises us. Network maintenance is the key. It's very vital. Network among person, among the groups and communities, organizations, public, privates, right? National and international. These are very vital to me, I think. This is the sub-point of sharing and caring approach. As a social worker, I should mention. Sharing ideas, sharing sorrows and grievance, sharing achievements. I hope if we can have a sharing mind, it's done or wrap up? Which one? Just joking, please. We are leaving tomorrow. Please don't say me wrap up. Time's up. It's the barrier, Dr. Ben. That's all. And no barriers for no issues. To ensure no one left behind. Again, no barriers for no issues, to ensure no one left behind. That should be our motto. That is my motto from today. Thanks a lot. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Habibul. I don't know whether James is here. When we went to Dhaka, he also controlled our time, right? They said 20 minutes, 15 minutes. By the time we go to the stage, they announced 7 minutes. But they gave us a lot of chapati and we enjoyed. enjoyed ourselves. Well, folks, I'm not going to sum up because in 30 minutes, because 5 minutes each, I noted 28 points. I was lost somewhere in Habibul's first 3 points and his sub-points. But I think we have had a fruitful conversation to impressions and the way forward. I think there's enough actionable points. I think what is critical for us is the institutional framework that can ensure many of these good ideas can be put to practice. For us at our mandate nationally, we will try our best. Some mandate for partnerships at regional level and global level, we would extend. We call partners from other countries, South Asia, East Asia, ASEAN, to likewise reciprocate and see how we can jointly finance this initiative so that the consolidation of SDGs, SSE, and so forth. I know we have a final wrap up in a few minutes because we got our young scholar who has been listening to all, not talking much, to come up afterwards and sum up all the key points. But one key idea at the end is we would document this as a book or a publication from the papers, from the ideas, to take it to the next level. And on our side, and I'm sure Essex side in their meeting tomorrow, they would list down what is possible. We definitely are committed because I've got the commitment of the APPGM SDG committee, the advisors on the 2025 SDG ASEAN Summit, and we will add plus, so forth. I see wrap up. I thought time's up, but wrap up. But let's give a hand to the panel. All professors struggle to end their lectures. Habibul, I'm sorry. Time is always limited, but thank you for all your valuable inputs. Conversation carries on. While the conference would end in the next few minutes, a number of people are going to do a field visit. Kirtana, can you show your hand? To Selayang, to visit a community project there, as well as have a dinner outside the hotel at their, is it what, Bengali bread and... Okay, Bengali bread. So I'm not sure whether the bread came from Bengal or from Bangladesh, but it's Bengali bread with different delicacies with the local community in Selayang, which is where our market area is, the central market for Kuala Lumpur, an area where there are a lot of migrants and refugees in that area. That's where the team is going from 4 o'clock. So with that, thank you very much.